Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now today I'm going to show you how to make this a beautiful blanket. Take a look at this. This is absolutely beautiful. It's really easy. As always, I try and do blankets that are quick and easy. Most of them are anyway. And look at this stitch. It is such a pretty stitch as well. Now you can do this all one colour if you like, but I like it done with this grey and pink. Grey, dark grey and even light grey really make light colours pop when you see them together. It's 27 inches long up and down the way, and it's 25 inches that way. Now I have done 54 rows. Do not think you're going to be there forever doing 54 rows. You're not. This is really quick. Each section has 4 rows in it. Now I didn't loop when I did the pink. When I did the grey and then I stopped and used the pink, I didn't just loop it up. I cut the yarn and I stitched it in. I stitched my edges. It's a cluster stitch. It's just I don't know what else to call it. It's just all clustered. So many stitches, 4 stitches all clustered together. And I'm going to show you how to make this absolutely super beautiful, easy, really easy. This really pretty little blanket. Your stitch count is in, do your chain in an even number of stitches. If you leave a long enough tail, if you don't have enough stitches, you can add 1 or 2. If you've got too many, you can just pick one out. So I leave quite a little bit of a tail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do my chain in an even number of stitches. Do it quite loose, don't do it too slack. So I think that's enough just to show you how to do this stitch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be using a UK double crochet. It's clusters with a double crochet. If you're in the USA, this is a single crochet. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go into the second loop in your chain. So just take your hook and go through that second stitch and pull a stitch through. We're going to do a double crochet to start with. We're going to start and finish with a double crochet. So what you're going to do is into the same stitch that you've just done that one, put your hook in and pull a stitch through. Go to the next chain, the next link in your chain, and pull a stitch through, and then the same into the next stitch. 2 off a chain and 1, so we've got 4 loops. Put your yarn over and pull through all of those loops and chain 1. Now into the same stitch that you've just used, into that same stitch here, go in and make another stitch. Use the next link in your chain and pull through, so you've got 3 loops. Use the next link and pull through, so you've got 4 loops. Yarn over and come through all those 4 loops and chain 1. You've got to remember and chain 1. And what you're making is these little clusters. So we're going to go back into that same stitch that you did your last one on, down in there. Use that same space and make a stitch, and then use 2 from your chain. So that's 1 loop and the next stitch in your chain. Yarn over, pull through all your stitches, chain 1. Keep it loose. So into the same stitch that you've just used with that last one, make a stitch. then use the next chain, make a stitch, and the next chain and make a stitch. Yarn over and come through all of those loops and chain one. And again, so we're going again into that same stitch that we've just used and pull through, and then use a link in the chain and then your next stitch. Pull through all of those, chain one, and go into that same stitch that you did that last one on. We're using this stitch twice, so make a loop and then use your next stitch in your chain to make a loop, and the next stitch and make a loop. Yarn over, pull through all those loops and chain one. So we're going into that stitch again and pull through. So that was the same stitch that we used. Then into the next stitch, pull a loop through, into the next stitch, pull a loop through. I've got one stitch left there. Yarn over, pull through all of those loops and chain one. So into my last stitch, I'm going to do a double crochet. Just push my hook through and I'm going to finish with a double crochet on the end. Chain one and turn. So you're going to start with a double crochet and you're going to finish with a double crochet. So right into that very first space, we'll do our double crochet. So what we're going to do now is, into the same space, we're going to create a stitch. So pull a stitch through. Into the top of the cluster, there's your stitch there. Go through the stitch and pull through. You've got 3 loops. Now into the space. Every space in between your cluster, we're going to use it twice. So we're going to use the space twice and then the top stitch of the cluster. Then the space we'll use that twice and then that stitch and use that space twice. This is creating the stitches that we're losing when we make the cluster. So into this chain, into the space between the clusters, yarn over, pull through all your loops and chain one. So we're going into the space again, the same space, creating a stitch. Into the top of your cluster, make your loop, and into the next space and create a stitch. So you've got your 4 loops again. Yarn over, through them all, chain one. Into the space again, into the top of your cluster, pull a loop through and into the next space and pull through all your loops, chain one. Into the same space, you see where we're using the space twice, into the top of the cluster, that's your cluster there, and then into the space between the clusters. It's a little bit more difficult to explain this stitch. Chain one. Now into the top of this little bundle at the end, you're just going to do your double crochet. Just like that. Chain one and turn. Into the very bottom of that chain one, you're going to do a double crochet. Now into the same space where you've done that double crochet, make a loop. So now we're at the top of the next cluster. There's your stitch there. So pull your yarn through to make another loop. That's the top of the cluster. and there's your space in between your clusters. These are the spaces that we're going to be using twice in between each cluster. So into the cluster and make a stitch. You've got 4 loops, yarn over, through them all, chain 1, into that same space again, pull a loop through, into the top of the cluster, pull a loop through, and then into the space, pull a loop through. Yarn over through all your loops, and you're at your last one, so you're just going to do a double crochet into that last stitch that's there. Chain 1 and turn, your last stitch for your double crochet, and that is what you get. You get that. Now what I did next was, where's my scissors? I just cut my yarn, leave enough for you to stitch in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just backtrack there. Keep your 2 stitches on before you do your double crochet. So I've got my grey, hopefully you'll still see that. Just pull your grey through to finish the stitch. You're going to do your chain 1, just tighten that up, and turn, and then you're going to do your double crochet into that space, that very first space. Do your first double crochet. You can tighten your threads up. Now get a needle and stitch that in just down the side. So you're going to stitch your edges in. So right into that same space you're going to create a loop. Then into the stitch above your cluster, there it is there, to create your next loop, and then into that space to make your 4th loop, and come through all your loops and chain 1, and that's you starting your next colour. And that is how you make your little clusters. So I've got my 4 yellow, I'll do 4 grey and more yellow, and that's what I did. You don't need to change the colour. You can do 2 rows and then change your colour. It's up to you. Use your imagination for this, but just remember to use that space twice. You can clearly see here. Use the space twice to make your stitch, because that's what creates the stitch that you lose when you make your cluster. So give it a try. Give this a little try. It is easy once you get it into your head. And remember, you do your UK double crochet at the end and 1 at the beginning. And if you're in the USA, that's a single crochet. You do 1 at the beginning and 1 at the end. So that is how I finish my blanket. Now when I did my little sample of just those few rows, we did 1 row of a UK double crochet, 1 row of a UK treble crochet, and then 1, that's to hold the ribbon, and then 1 more row of a UK double crochet. If you're in the USA or another country, we finished the square with 1 row of single crochet all the way around, 1 row of double crochet that holds the ribbon, and 1 more row of single crochet all the way around, and this is what you get. It's absolutely beautiful. Give it a try. It's easy. You can use this stitch for hats, for jackets, for sweaters. So please subscribe to my channel. Just click on that subscribe button that's down there, and if you click on that bell icon, then YouTube will alert you when I put up another tutorial. So give this a little try. Until the next time, happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.